In the last few years, Peppermint OS has quickly become one of the more popular Linux distributions. It's very well respected, very highly lauded in the Linux world. Peppermint OS is a lightweight, kind of minimal distro. It's Ubuntu based, very new user friendly. They just released version 9 yesterday. Let's take a look. So, Peppermint OS 9. I'm going to pull up the distribution release announcement here on distrowatch.com. Peppermint OS is a lightweight Ubuntu-based distribution that features a desktop environment made up of XFCE and LXDE components. So it's a mixture of XFCE and LXDE. It actually is a mixture of some other components too. They use some GNOME apps, some Cinnamon apps. Let's see. They have replaced LXR&R with XFCE4 display settings, yada, yada, yada. We'll get into some of the release notes later. Looking at the Peppermint OS page here on DistroWatch, it is currently ranked number 26th on DistroWatch's page hit rankings, so very highly ranked for Peppermint OS. Peppermint OS has been around for a few years. It is a Ubuntu-based Linux distribution. It aims at being lightning fast and easy on system resources, so Peppermint OS is perfect for those older machines that struggle running things like GNOME, Cinnamon, KDE. Over at peppermintos.com, they have their, of course, release notes. Peppermint 9 released. Some of the highlights. They replaced, again, LXR&R with XFCE4 display settings for your monitor settings, your display settings. Let's see. By request, Menu Libre is now installed by default, and Menu Libre no longer breaks the menus as it did in previous Peppermint versions, so that's awesome. The Nemo File Manager now has right-click, send by email context menu items, so they're using the Nemo File Manager, which is the standard file manager in Cinnamon, even though really this is a hybrid XFCE/LXDE desktop. Let's see, Qt applications such as VLC now honor the system GTK theme, so that's pretty cool. So improved theming, it's the little things that really make Peppermint great. The polish, the finished product, very professional looking distro. HTOP is now installed by default, which is great. I think every distro should have HTOP installed by default. They have some awesome new artwork courtesy of Carl Schneider. Very cool. Carl Schneider is a friend of the show here. He's made me some really nice graphics, some DistroTube wallpapers. I'm sure you guys have seen some of those in my previous videos. Carl's a great guy. And he does a lot of artwork for a number of different open source projects. Let's see. Yeah, Peppermint 9 is now on the 1804 LTS codebase. So it's based on Lubuntu 1804, the LTS. So it has all the latest software. 1804 Ubuntu was just released about a month ago. So it should be pretty fresh packages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the ISO. The ISO is 1.3 gigs in size. I'm going to install this inside a virtual machine. Alright, so I'm going to install this inside a virtual machine. Alright, so we got the boot menu here, the options in the boot menu. Try Peppermint OS Live. Install Peppermint OS. OEM install for manufacturers. Check disk. Test memory. Boot from first hard disk. I am going to choose the first option. Try Peppermint OS Live. This should boot us directly into a live environment. And I'm assuming from the live environment we should be able to find an installer. Now that is a very interesting screen there. That was some strange characters there. Not sure what that was about. But it looks like it's booting up fine. Alright. So we got to the live environment. No VirtualBox guest editions working in the live environment, unfortunately. So this live environment, we're going to have to deal with this very small screen resolution. But they do have the installer right here on the desktop. So I'm going to click the icon here that says Install Peppermint 9. And it launches what looks like the Ubiquity installer, the standard installer that's used in Ubuntu and a lot of the Ubuntu flavors. So English has been chosen for our language. I'm going to click Continue. English US has been chosen for our keyboard. That's correct. I'm going to click Continue. what apps would we like to install? Do we want to do a normal install or a minimal install? I'm actually not sure if Peppermint respects the minimal installation feature or not. I'm assuming they do. If they do, let's see, it describes the normal installation as including a web browser, utilities, Office, games, and media players. The minimal install includes web browser and basic utilities, but it doesn't include Office software, games, or media players. I'm just going to do the normal install though. Do we want to download updates while installing Peppermint? There really shouldn't be any updates, but I'm going to go ahead and leave that ticked on. Do we want to install third-party software for graphics, Wi-Fi hardware, and additional media formats? Yes. You really need to tick that on. That's going to give you your proprietary Wi-Fi drivers, your proprietary video drivers. It's also going to give you your proprietary multimedia codecs you need for playing multimedia. So you really need to tick that on. I'm going to click continue. And we wait a second. Got my coffee. It's always important to have coffee. If you're going to do Linux, you need coffee. Alright, this computer currently has no detected operating system. What would you like to do? So the hard drive on this virtual machine, this virtual hard drive, there's no operating system on it, so it's asking me what I would like to do. I want to give Peppermint OS the entire hard drive on this virtual machine. So the first option, erase disk and install Peppermint. That's what I need to do. If I wanted to manually set up my partitions, I could go down here and click on something else and manually create my partitions. But I'm just going to do the automatic partitioning. So, all right. Then we get our little warning that it's about to format the drive right to the disk. I'm going to click continue. And we wait a second. All right, time zone. It has correctly chosen the central time zone in the US for me. So I'm just going to click continue here. We need to create our username. I'm going to create the username DT. Alright, then we need to create a password for the user DT. I'm going to create a strong and complicated password for security reasons. Alright, do we want to log in automatically or require a password to log in? I like to be required to enter a password to log in for privacy reasons. And that is it. The installer starts, and this portion of the installer typically takes between 5 to 10 minutes on most systems. So I'm going to pause the video. I'll be back once the installation has completed. Alright, and the installation has completed. That probably took 5 or 6 minutes. It was a very fast install process. Anytime you install a new operating system, you always have to reboot your machine. So I'm going to do that right now. I'll be right back. Okay, and I've rebooted my freshly installed Peppermint OS 9. And let's wait and see how long it takes for boot up. Oh, well, I didn't even get a chance to take a sip of my coffee. That boot up time was very fast. Let me go ahead and enter my password and log in to Peppermint OS 9. Now, the VirtualBox guest editions are not working in Peppermint 9. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes and see if I can get the VirtualBox guest editions up and running so we can get a full screen resolution. I'll be right back. And I'm back. I've got the VirtualBox guest editions installed, and now I have a full screen resolution, a 1920 by 1080 resolution that I'm using on my monitor here. By the way, you guys, if you're trying out Peppermint OS 9 inside VirtualBox and you're wondering how to get the VirtualBox guest editions to install correctly, there's a couple of dependencies that you need to install. You need to install GCC and you need to install Make. And then the VirtualBox guest editions will install properly. So, out of the box, first impressions, you know, just a beautiful desktop. Love the wallpaper, the gray and red theming, the panel. I mean, it is a very, very nice look and feel to it. I mean, it's very professional, very polished, especially for a community distro. I'm going to go through the menu system here and see what applications are installed in Peppermint OS 9 by default. Let me make this menu a little bigger. This menu system, by the way, this is the Whisker menu, I believe. This is the XFCE Whisker menu. So this is a LX session, a LXDE session, but it uses the XFCE panel and the Whisker menu from XFCE. So it's a weird hybrid of LXDE and XFCE. Anyway, under the accessories category, we have our application finder, which is probably, let's see, what program is this? If I go to About, is there an About page? No. But it's your standard application finder. You just search for something, say HTOP, which I know is installed. You just start typing and you find it. Of course, you can also browse by category. Alright, also under Accessories, we have our Archive Manager. Let's see, what Archive Manager are they using? This actually looks like File Roller, which is GNOME's Archive Manager, and it is. This is Archive Manager File Roller 3.28, so this is the Archive Manager from the GNOME desktop environment. That's interesting because, you know, it being a lightweight XFCE/LXDE distro, you'd think they would use something that wasn't a GNOME app, but hey, File Roller is a nice Archive Manager. We have Calculator. What calculator are they using? The Mate calculator. So we already have XFCE, LXDE, GNOME, and Mate applications. And I've already mentioned that the file manager is going to be Nemo, which is the Cinnamon file manager. So this is really a mishmash of several different desktop environments. It's what really makes Peppermint interesting as a project. Character map. It's a standard character map program. Let's see. This is the GNOME character map. We're going to see a lot of GNOME utilities, I think, in Peppermint. If I remember from Peppermint 8, it used a lot of GNOME stuff, such as the disk utility, GNOME disk, files, which is Nemo. This is our file manager. Nemo 3.6.5. Nemo lets you organize files and folders, both on your computer and online. It's your typical file manager. Also under Accessories, we have our icon browser, we have an image viewer, we have menu editor. Let's open this. This is Menu Libre. This is a menu editor. It edits your Whisker menu. Close that. Really neat program, Menu Libre. It was one of those programs almost everybody installed on the system anyway. Now Peppermint OS 9 just installs it by default. So we have our screenshot utility, we have a file search utility, we have our task manager. Let's take a look at the task manager. Let's see what kind of system resources are being used here in Peppermint OS 9. Let it settle down for a second. CPU percentage is very low, single digits, 2%, 7%, 3%. Memory, we're using a 9% of the 4 gigs of memory I gave this machine, so very low memory usage. It's what you expect for a lightweight, minimal distro. Alright, also under Accessories, we have our terminal. Let's see what terminal emulator they're using. Does it tell me anything about the terminal? It doesn't. It's the title bar here says Peppermint Terminal. I'm not sure if that they create their own terminal emulator, or maybe they just renamed some other terminal emulator Peppermint Terminal. I'm not sure. Text editor. This appears to be gedit. No, it's Z, XED, Z 1.0.6, a small and lightweight text editor. Alright, also Accessories, we have our wallpaper utility where we can change wallpapers. We'll come back to this. Let's get through the applications installed by default. We have a few games. We have Chess, Entanglement, Tetris, Mahjong, Solitaire, and Spider Solitaire. Under Graphics, we don't have much under Graphics. We have a document viewer, editor by Pixeler. I'm not sure what that is. Let's take a look at it. Never seen that program before. Never heard of it. It is an online photo editor. So it's actually connecting to the internet. It's some kind of online service. Okay. But it's for editing your photos and images. Also under Graphics, we have Simple Scan, which is a scanning utility for those of you that still have a scanner. Alright, under Internet, we have a BitTorrent client. Let's see what BitTorrent client they're using. It's Transmission, the standard BitTorrent client in the GNOME desktop environment. Also under Internet, we have Dropbox. Dropbox installed by default. That's very cool. Most distros would not install Dropbox by default because it's not free and open source software. Let's see, if I click on it, okay, I guess this is it actually is not installed, but it does include the installation program on the ISO. So you just run it and it begins the installation. Also under Internet, we have Firefox as our default web browser. And being based on Ubuntu/Lubuntu 18.04, they're probably running the very latest Firefox, which would be Firefox 60. Yeah, 60.0.2 Firefox Quantum. Close Firefox. Also under Internet, we have our online user guide for Peppermint. We have the Peppermint OS forums, and we have Skype. Now, Skype, this probably is just a link to the Skype installer. Let's see. Actually, it opens up Firefox. It's probably taking us to, the web page for Skype, probably to get us to download the Skype program, I'm guessing. Alright, under Multimedia, we have GUVC View, which is a webcam program. Similar to how you guys are watching me on my webcam on my desktop in a little rectangle, GUVC View, similar kind of program. We have Pulse Audio, of course, installed, Pulse Audio volume control, and VLC is our media player. VLC is probably the best media player on Linux. Great for video. Pretty good for audio too. Works all around, so they don't have a separate audio player and a separate video player. They're just using VLC for an all-in-one multimedia player. Under Office, we have quite a bit of Office programs installed by default. We have our document viewer again. We have Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, some Google services. Then we have Microsoft Excel Online, OneNote Online, PowerPoint Online, and Word Online. So we have a bunch of the Microsoft Office, online services, and we have a bunch of the Google Docs services under Office, which is interesting because we have free and open source solutions in Linux, such as LibreOffice, but I don't hate the fact that they include things like Google Drive or Microsoft Word Online. I know a lot of people use those programs. Under settings, we have, the standard stuff, additional drivers for setting up your proprietary Wi-Fi drivers, graphic drivers, AR&R for setting up your display and resolution, customized look and feel for setting your GTK themes, and a lot of the other standard stuff, setting up your printer, Samba server, our software manager. Let's take a look at the software manager. Requires a root password. And it takes a second to load. More than a second, actually. Alright, and the name of the program is just called Software Manager. And this appears to be a custom Peppermint app. And we have, these icons here on the home page, if you will. We have featured, we have all packages. Apparently we have over 90,000 packages available for install. That is outstanding. Then we have some categories: internet, sound, graphics, office, games, yada yada yada. If I click a category, games for example, then it will give me some popular games to install, such as West North, Super Tux, Play on Linux, Warzone, Open Arena, and it's many more. If I wanted to search for a program, for example, say I didn't want to use Firefox as my web browser, I want to use Chromium, I could do a search for Chromium, hit enter, and there you go. We have Chromium. And let's close the software manager. Also under settings, we have our Synaptic Package Manager, which is another GUI package manager. Actually, Synaptic is really fantastic. If you don't need images, you don't want to see screenshots and read reviews of other people that installed it. If you just want to install a package, Synaptic is fantastic. You just search for a package, again, Chromium. Hit enter, and here it is. All I got to do is right click on this, mark for installation. It's going to tell me all the packages that will be installed with Chromium. And that's it. Hit apply. If I hit apply right now, Chromium installs. I'm not going to install it though. Let me close out Synaptic. That was just an example of how to use Synaptic Package Manager. If you're running a Debian-based or an Ubuntu-based system and Synaptic Package Manager is not installed on your system, you might want to install it. It's really a great program. Thunderbird Theme Lock is also under settings, I guess, for customizing Thunderbird email, which Thunderbird I did not see under Internet, so I'm not sure why that's there. Oh well. Under System, your standard system stuff, dconf, gdebi, htop, printers and Samba again, your update manager, and users and groups. We also have a USB image writer and a USB stick formatter. Let me click the USB image writer. So you would just select an ISO that you've downloaded on your system. Of course, tell it what drive to write it to. Okay, so I'm going to right click on the desktop here. Right click on the desktop. I'm going to choose Change Desktop Background. Let's see what wallpapers are installed by default in Peppermint. Because if Peppermint OS 8, which I reviewed when it came out, had a really fantastic selection of wallpapers, and Peppermint 9, it's not going to be outdone. It looks like it includes some just gorgeous photographs here. I mean, just beautiful stuff here. And this is really one of the high points of Peppermint. It is just a gorgeous desktop. Gorgeous theming, gorgeous wallpapers. I mean, no other distro includes such high quality photographs as far as wallpapers. I usually like dark themes, so since I like dark themes, I'm going to choose a light wallpaper, something a little lighter in color. Maybe this one here with the honeybee. That's not bad. Or maybe something like this one. This stone in the sand. That's really nice. You know what? I'm going to go with it. It's my kind of wallpaper anyway. It's not too busy, just has a few colors, very classy. Alright, I would like to mess with the GTK theme and the icons now. Because this theme and this icon set really doesn't go well with my kind of dark sand-colored wallpaper. So let me go to, is it Settings? Customize Look and Feel. Alright, and this is where we can change our GTK theme. Make this a little bigger. By default, Peppermint Red Dark is the name of the theme. We have the option of Add Weight to, of course. Add Weight to Dark, which is not bad. Clear Looks, Crux, Graybird, High Contrast, wow. Mist, Peppermint Blue Dark, and all of the Peppermint ones are very similar as far as the dark ones. Blue Mix, that's a mixture of light and dark. Blue Light. Let's see, so we really don't have too much to choose from. Let's see. How about that? Yeah, I think that would work for the wallpaper I'm working with now. So how about the icon theme? By default, Papyrus Dark. I guess it's a play on words. Of course, the Papyrus icon theme. This is the Papyrus icon theme. Papyrus Dark. How about, do we have a brown icon set we can go with? Yeah. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'll work with that. I can handle that. I'm going to pull up a terminal. Being Ubuntu based, I would think Control-Alt-T probably brings up a terminal, and it does. Let's see what kernel version we're running. So uname space -R. We are running kernel 4.15.0, the same kernel that Ubuntu 18.04 is using. HTOP is installed by default. We're still using just 2% of our CPU. 383 megs of memory, even with everything running, including HTOP and the few things here in our sys tray. So still, just really light, blazing fast. Oh, and now when I'm trying to close HTOP, do I really want to close Sakura? So Sakura is our terminal emulator. Speaking of the panel at the bottom, we have running our update manager. Let's see what we have. Our network manager. The volume control, what is this, keyboard settings, yep, keyboard layout, and of course we have the clock and calendar. So all in all, what do I think about Peppermint OS 9, this very quick installation and first look? Love it. Peppermint OS 8, I reviewed on the channel late last year when I was first starting my channel, and I did a top 5 distros for 2017. My top 5 distros that I reviewed in 2017, Peppermint OS 8 was in my top 5. Love that distro. Peppermint OS 9, there's a very good chance Peppermint OS 9 might be one of my top distros for 2018 once we make it to the end of the year. Peppermint OS 9, just a beautiful, classy desktop. Fast. You guys know, I'm a minimalist. I'm a speed freak. I want things that just open. I want menus. When I open them, I want them to just open. No lag. I want windows that open when I click on an icon. When I close a window, I want it to close immediately. And Peppermint OS is just peppy. I mean, pun intended. Peppermint is very peppy. Very speedy distro, would work great, again, on older machines. But you know what? I don't have an older machine. I have a pretty decent rig for my main production machine. And Peppermint OS, I would have no problem putting this on my main production machine because it's going to run lightning fast. Before I go, I do want to give a special thanks to my patrons. I want to give a shout out to all my Patreon supporters. David, Carlos, Nick, Daniel, Brian, Leor, AK, Ron, Keith, Dan, Michael, Tony, Bruno, David, Mike, Silvio, Omar, Mark, Mr. Neely Pops, John, Carl, Greg, Rob, Mark, Matt, Christian, Tiedemann, Stephen Z, Eduardo, Alex, Jake, Benjamin, Stephen B, Marcus, Interceptor, Tubella, Humade, Paul, Chuck, Ben, and John. You guys rock. You help make this show possible. Peace, guys.